Hi, grade 9s and 10s. We are continuing to read in Macbeth. So we are going to read scene 4 and scene 5, and we'll see where we get to from there. We are getting to the climax of the play. Macbeth is really getting nervous, and I think he knows he's going to lose, but he's not going to go down with a fight. And he keeps repeating to himself these mantras of I don't need to be afraid until the wood marches on my castle, and I don't need to be afraid of anyone born of a woman, and he thinks he's safe. And these are these paradoxes that seem like they can't be true at the same time. So how can it be true that he doesn't have to worry about these things, and yet he has to beware of Macduff? And it's a paradox. They seem like contradictory statements, but we are going to find out how is it that the woods can march on his castle, and how is it that he can be defeated by someone who is not born of a woman. What does that mean? Okay, so if you'd like to read along with me, we are in scene 4, and you can follow along, and yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so Malcolm is here, and we know that Malcolm is King Duncan's son, and he is the rightful heir to the throne. So he is the one who should be the king right now, except that Macbeth has taken it over. So here he comes. He says, "Cousins, I hope the days are near at hand that Chambers will be safe. We doubt it nothing. What wood is this before us? The wood of Burnham." And so, that's interesting. Okay, and here we see Malcolm's plan, and we start to understand how the woods can march on Macbeth. "Let every soldier hew him down a bough and bear it before him. Thereby shall we shadow the numbers of our host and make discovery err in report of us." Okay, so Malcolm's plan is that everyone's going to cut down a branch, so with some leafy greens, and hold it in front of him and march on the castle. And so his plan in doing that is to say that the people on the castle looking out, they won't be able to see the correct numbers because they will be camouflaged within the woods, because they'll be covered over with some branches and greenery. And so lo and behold, we have the woods marching on the castle. So things are not looking good for Macbeth. The soldier says, "It shall be done. We learn no other but the confident tyrant keeps still in Dunsinane and will endure our setting down before it. 'Tis his main hope, where there is advantage to be given, both more and less have given him the revolt, and none serve with him but constrained things whose hearts are absent too. Let our just censures attend the true event, and put we on industrious soldiership. The time approaches that will with due decision make us know what we shall say we have and what we owe. Thoughts speculative their unsure hopes relate, but certain issue strokes must arbitrate, towards which advance the war." Okay, and so we have a bunch of short scenes here, and what that does, the reason why Shakespeare is writing a bunch of short scenes is partly to go back and forth between the action of, oh, here's the soldiers coming, oh, what's Macbeth doing, what are the soldiers doing, what's Macbeth doing, so we can see both sides of things. And it also means that the action feels really sped up, and that's what happens when you have a climax in a story. Things build, and then they get really quick, and then there's a quick, I forget what the word is for that, but downfall. And so the action is speeding up, so we know that something big is happening here. Okay, scene 5, so then we have Macbeth and his soldiers with drum and colors, and I understand that means like the flags, and we just see their army here. Okay, Macbeth says, "Hang out our banners on the outward walls. The cry is still, they come. Our castle's strength will laugh a siege to scorn. Here, let them lie till famine and the ague eat them up. Were they not forced with those that should be ours, we might have met them dareful, beard to beard, and beat them backward home." Again, then there's this loud cry off stage within the house of women. What is that noise? It is the cry of women, my good lord. I have almost forgot the taste of fears. The time has been my senses would have cooled to hear a night shriek, and my fell of hair would at a dismal treatise rouse and stir as life were in it. I have supped full with horrors. Direness, familiar to my slaughterous thoughts, cannot once start me. So he doesn't have a huge reaction. He's become so immune to loud noises and fear because he's seen so many horrors and done so many bad things now. Okay, and then Seaton comes back and he says, wherefore was that cry? And wherefore means why? What was that cry for? And Seaton says, the queen, my lord, is dead. So we don't see Lady Macbeth's death on stage, but we find out a little bit more about that. So, but she is dead. Okay. And Macbeth says something that is fairly ambiguous. It's fairly ambiguous here. There's two meanings that it could mean, and interpreters are not sure what he means by that necessarily, but we'll go over the two things that it could possibly mean. And this is a very important speech that's quite famous and has a lot of meaning. So he says, she should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. So, this is a very important speech here. It gives you a look into what is Macbeth feeling, what is he thinking at this point. So the first line says, she should have died hereafter. Now that could be taken two ways. So it could mean she would have died at some point anyway. Doesn't matter. She would have died. Whether she dies now or if she dies in 30 years, who cares? She's going to die at some point anyway. So that's one interpretation. Or it might mean, it would have been more convenient if she had died a little later, not when I was in the middle of a big battle. So either way is fairly cold and heartless, isn't it? Because he's either saying like, oh, what's it matter if she dies now, she dies later, whatever. Or, this is a little inconvenient for me to have her die right now. So those are the two possibilities. And he says, there would have been time for such a word, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. So he's weary of life, and you can see why he is, because he's done so much evil, and now he's paying the consequences here. And he says, out, out, brief candle. And so if this is a metaphor, so imagining life as a candle, and candles are, it's just a small light, and they're very fragile in terms of they can be blown out so quickly. Life is so frail, and we know that. Often we forget that, but then we have these reminders of, wow, people can be taken from us so quickly, and life is so frail. And you think of that with the mass shootings last week, and 20 plus people are gone, and it's just so quick, and life is so frail and precious. I don't think he's thinking of life as precious, but he's thinking, wow, our little life, and it's gone, and what is it, and what's the point, and life just goes on, and it's, he says, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player, or a poor actor that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. So we can be very dramatic in our life, and then one day we'll be gone, and it's just meaningless, and it's just a tale told by an idiot, and it doesn't mean anything. Now, I think as a Christian, it's very exciting to know that life is so meaningful, and that God is the one writing our story, and we don't have to live in that kind of a story of this doesn't mean anything and it's purposeless. And for me, I understand why someone would feel that way apart from God, and I think for me, knowing God and knowing that He's writing our story and that He has a purpose in our plan, it's just such a life changer for me. So anyway, Macbeth is not there. He doesn't get that, and I think because he's done so much evil, he is so weary of life, and things seem very meaningless to him, because at the beginning of the play he's so excited about, like, wow, I might get to be king, and then he does this evil and now he has it, and the things that he's gotten because of all the evil he did are now so meaningless to him and so worthless, and he's tired of living. So that's a little interpretation of that, but you should spend some time looking over that, and you can look up analysis on that speech online as well if you want to find out more information and think about it more. That's an important one. Okay, so the messenger comes in and he says, "Thou comest to use thy tongue, thy story quickly. Gracious my lord, I should report that which I say I saw, but know not how to do it." "Well, say, sir." "As I did stand my watch upon the hill, I looked toward Burnham, and anon methought the wood began to move." Liar and slave! So he's saying, I was looking out on the woods, and I thought I saw the woods moving towards us. And so Macbeth is furious at this idea. "Let me endure your wrath, if it be not so. Within this 3 mile you may see it coming. I say, a moving grove." So the trees are moving. "If thou speakest false, upon the next tree shalt thou hang alive till famine cling thee." He said, if you're lying to me, I'm going to hang you on a tree. "If thy speech be sooth, I care not if thou does for me as much." So he's saying, okay, so if you're lying, I'm going to hang you on a tree. If you're telling the truth, I don't care if you do that to me, because everything is ruined if that is the case, because he thought that could never happen. "I pull in resolution and begin to doubt the equivocation of the fiend that lies like truth. Fear not till Burnham Wood do come to Dunsinane." And now a wood comes toward Dunsinane. "Arm, and out. If this which he avouches does appear, there is nor flying hence nor tarrying here. I begin to be weary of the sun, and wish the estate of the world were now undone. Ring the alarm bell. Blow wind, come rack, at least we'll die with harness on our back." This is the point where he knows he is not escaping, because he now knows that the witches have lied to him. He said they've equivocated. He says he doubts the equivocation of the fiend that lies like truth. So were they telling the truth? Yes. But were they lying to him? Yes. They were purposely trying to trick him. And so now he knows that everything is ruined, that he's not going to win. There's no point in fleeing. There's no point in staying. It's just done. And the least he can do, or the only thing he can do now, is die fighting. So, okay. All right, let's continue. There's 3 quick scenes left. Okay, scene 6. So now we're back to Malcolm, Seward, Macduff, and their army with boughs from the trees. "Now near enough, your leafy screens throw down and show like those you are. You, worthy uncle, shall with my cousin, your right noble son, lead our first battle. Worthy Macduff and we shall take upon us what else remains to do according to our order. Fare you well. Do we but find the tyrant's power tonight, let us be beaten if we cannot fight. Make all our trumpets speak, give them all breath, those clamorous harbingers of blood and death." Okay, scene 7, we're back to Macbeth. So, okay, he says, "They have tied me to a stake, I cannot fly, but bear-like I must fight the course. What's he that was not born of woman? Such a one am I to fear or none." So he knows there's got to be something to that statement, but he can't figure out what that means. And he's saying he's tied to a stake. And in medieval times, they would often do bear baiting. They might tie a bear to a stake in the ground, a wooden stake, and the bear can't escape, and then someone would come and fight the bear. The bear can't do anything except fight, even though they're trapped, and that's what he feels like. He feels trapped. Okay, so we know from the last scene that young Seward and old Seward, the son and father, are coming to fight Macbeth. So young Seward comes in and says, What is thy name? Thou'll be afraid to hear it. No, though thou callest thyself a hotter name than any is in hell. My name's Macbeth. The devil himself could not pronounce a title more hateful to mine ear, no, nor more fearful. Thou liest, abhorred tyrant, with my sword I'll prove the lie thou speakest. So, young Siward is quite brave, but he's just young, he's not an experienced fighter, and so then they fight, and then the young Siward is slain. That was born of woman. But swords I smile at, weapons laugh to scorn, brandished by man, that's of a woman born. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, Macduff comes in. Okay, so Macbeth leaves, and then we see Macduff. That way the noise is, Tyrant, show thy face! So he's hot on the trail of Macbeth. If thou beest slain, and with no stroke of mine, my wife and children's ghosts will haunt me still. I cannot strike at wretched kerns whose arms are hired to bear their staves. Either thou, Macbeth, or else my sword with an unbattered edge I sheath again undeeded. There thou shouldst be, by this great clatter, one of greatest note seems brooded. Let me find him fortune, and more I beg not. Okay, so then he leaves. Boom, 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 boom. And then Malcolm and Siward come in. This way, my lord, the castle's gently rendered. The tyrant's people on both sides do fight. The noble thanes do bravely in the war. The day almost itself professes yours, and little is to do. We have met with foes that strike beside us. Enter, sir, the castle. And then they leave. Okay, so the enemies are now in the castle, so things are getting to the end here. And we are in scene 8, and this is the last scene, I think. The last scene of the whole play. We've read this whole play. You guys have done so well. Okay. Macbeth says, why should I play the Roman fool and die on mine own sword? Whilst I see lives, the gashes do better upon them. Okay. Whilst I see lives, the gashes do better upon them. So, in a lot of ancient cultures, for example, the Roman culture, ancient Rome, they would think that it was noble to commit suicide rather than have someone kill you. So they think it's like taking charge of your own self. And he said, why should I do that? Why should I be a fool and kill myself? I'd rather keep fighting and killing people until I'm dead. Okay, Macduff comes in. Turn, hellhound, turn. Of all men else I have avoided thee, but get thee back. My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already. I have no words. My voice is in my sword, thou bloodier villain than terms can give thee out. So this is an important fight because Macbeth has been warned of Macduff that he needs to beware him, and Macduff has been waiting to get to Macbeth because he wants to take revenge for the deaths of his wife and children. Excuse me. So they fight, and Macbeth says, thou losest labor, you're getting tired. As easy mayest thou the entrenchant air with thy keen sword impress as make me bleed. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life, which must not yield to one of woman born. He said, I am blessed, I live a charmed life, I can't die, you can't kill me because you were born from a woman. And here's where we find out what the lie was. Despair thy charm, and let the angel, whom thou still hast served, tell thee, Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. So what he's saying is, I was a C-section baby. I wasn't born of a woman. I was taken out of my mother's stomach. Accursed be the tongue that tells me so. For it hath cowed my better part of man, and be these juggling fiends no more believed that palter with us in a double sense, that keep the word of promise to our ear and break it to our hope, I'll not fight with thee. So now his last hope is gone, and he fully realizes that the witches have tricked him and lied to him, and now he's saying, I am not going to fight with you. Then yield thee, coward, and live to be the show and gaze of the time. We'll have thee as our rarer monsters are, painted upon a pole, and underwrit, here may you see the tyrant. He says, well then, if you won't fight, then you have to submit to me, and I'll take you out, and I will make people, we'll put you up, and everyone will laugh at you, and It's not going to be good. I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet, and to be baited with the rabble's curse. Though Burnham would be come to Dunsinane, and thou opposed, being of no woman born, yet I will try the last. Before my body I throw my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, and damned be him that cries first, hold, enough. And then they go off stage fighting, and then they enter fighting, and Macbeth is slain. Macduff exits, carrying off Macbeth's body. Malcolm comes in and says, I would the friends we miss were safe arrived. Some must go off, and yet by these I see so great a day as this is cheaply bought. Macduff is missing, and your noble son. Your son, my lord, is paid a soldier's debt. He only lived but till he was a man. The which no sooner had his prowess confirmed in the unshrinking station where he fought, but like a man he died. Then he is dead, aye, and brought off the field. Your cause of sorrow must not be measured by his worth, for then it has no end. Had he his hurts before? Aye, on the front. So he said, was he stabbed in the front or the back? Yes, in the front. Why then, God's soldiers be he. Had I as many sons as I have hairs, I would not wish them to a fairer death, and so his knell is knolled. So he's saying he is not a coward. I'm so proud of him because he fought and he didn't run away. He's worth more sorrow, and that I'll spend for him. He's worth no more. They say he parted well and paid his score, and so God be with him. Here comes newer comfort. And Macduff comes in with Macbeth's head. So that's pretty gross. Hail, king, for so thou art. Behold, where stands the usurper's cursed head. The time is free. I see thee compassed with thy kingdom's pearl, that speak my salutation in their minds, whose voices I desire aloud with mine. Hail, King of Scotland! Hail, King of Scotland! We shall not spend a large expense of time before we reckon with your several loves, and make us even with you. My thanes and kinsmen henceforth be earls. So Malcolm gives a promotion, basically. They were thanes, and now they're earls. The first that ever Scotland in such an honour named. What's more to do, which would be planted newly with the time, as calling home our exiled friends abroad, that fled the snares of watchful tyranny, producing forth the cruel ministers of this dead butcher and his fiend-like queen, who, as 'tis thought, by self and violent hands took off her life. This, and what needful else that calls upon us by the grace of grace, we will perform in measure, time, and place. So thanks to all at once, and to each one whom we invite to see us crowned at Scone. The end. So he said, okay, I'll be giving out honors, and we'll do that all in due time. And then this is where we get a hint of, it sounds like the queen has killed herself. And it sounds like there's some indication that maybe she jumped off a balcony and killed herself. So sad. So this is, I hope you can see why this is considered a tragedy. So Lady Macbeth and Macbeth, they're on the top of their game, and then by the end, their lives are utterly ruined and destroyed, and they've killed many people. So that is a tragedy. The people, the main people in the play have been defeated. So I will end it there because this is a long video, but I hope you enjoyed the play, and we will look more into it in the coming week as you guys start to prepare to write an essay, and I'll talk more about that on Monday. So for now, you can write your summaries, and you can, for these scenes, you can just write one summary, so just 1 to 2 paragraphs wrapping up the play. Thanks.